For almost all of human history, nobody knew what time it was, at least not in the way you do. No clocks, no watches, no calendars, and yet humans still hunted, crossed continents, planted entire harvests, gathered thousands of people for ceremony. How? Humanity's first timekeeper wasn't a machine. It was the sky. How do you know when it's time to do something without a clock? Ancient humans couldn't see time. Nobody can. It has no shape, no color, no sound. All they could see was change. Sunrise, sunset, shadows stretching, then shrinking, then stretching again. The moon swelling into fullness, then vanishing into dark. Seasons turning the world green, then gold, then white. Humans didn't invent time. They learned to recognize its patterns. That single realization would shape everything that came next. Roughly 300,000 years of it, as long as our species has existed. How did nature become humanity's first timekeeper? Start with the simplest pattern of all, the sun. Every day it rose in roughly the same place. Climbed, fell, disappeared. Its shadows told an even more precise story. Long at dawn, short at noon, long again at dusk. Watch a shadow long enough and you don't just know it's daytime. You know what part of the day it is. But the sun didn't only mark the day, it marked the year. Sunrise and sunset crept slowly along the horizon as the seasons turned. A little further north, a little further south, then back again. Twice a year, that drift stopped and reversed. The solstices. Twice a year, day and night drew close to equal length. The equinoxes. The first timekeeper wasn't mechanical. It was the sky itself. But a day only tells you so much. You can track a sunrise. You can't plan a harvest. Or an entire season. So how did humans count weeks? Or months? They looked up again. This time, at the moon. Unlike the sun, the moon visibly changes shape, night after night, in a cycle reliable enough to set a life by. New, crescent, half, full, dark again, roughly every 29.5 days. That kind of predictability makes the moon a natural candidate for humanity's earliest calendar. A way to measure time longer than a day, but shorter than a year. Exactly when and where that first happened is harder to pin down than it sounds. The evidence is older than you'd expect. It's also more contested than you'd expect. The Ishango bone was unearthed in the Congo. It's more than 20,000 years old, carved with rows of tally-like notches. Some researchers have read them as a record of lunar phases. Others see an early counting system, or a mathematical sequence. Close study of similar marked bones has cast real doubt on the lunar theory. The debate is still open. The stronger case comes later, and closer to Europe. At Warrenfield in Scotland, archaeologists found a curved line of pits. Its excavators believe it's the oldest known time-reckoning monument ever found, built roughly 10,000 years ago. It appears to track the moon's monthly phases, and every year it corrects itself. Against the sunrise on the shortest day of winter. Other notched and marked objects from the deeper past have inspired similar theories. But most archaeologists treat them more cautiously now. Not as finished calendars, as tallies, records of what had already happened, not predictions of what was still to come. What's certain is simpler and still remarkable. Long before writing, long before cities, some humans were already counting the sky. But counting months still isn't the same as planning a year. Eventually, civilization would have to do exactly that. For early humans, none of this was philosophy. It was survival. Imagine you're an early farmer. Plant too early, and a late frost kills every seedling in the ground. Plant too late, and the season runs out before the harvest comes in. Miss the migration, the herd, the fish run, whatever your whole year depends on, and there's no food until next season. Being wrong about time didn't just cost a day, it could cost a year, it could cost a life. So humans built a second calendar out of the world around them. They watched the birds return. The rivers rise and fall, the plants flower, and when? The animals move with the seasons. The stars rise just before dawn at exactly the same time, year after year. Nature became the calendar. Every living thing around them was like a clock hand, and reading it correctly meant something simple, a full winter store, or an empty one. Eventually, watching wasn't enough. Humans wanted something built, something they could return to, generation after generation. So they raised monuments aligned with the sky. Take Stonehenge in England. Its main axis lines up with the midsummer sunrise and the midwinter sunset. Or Nabta Playa in the Egyptian desert. There, a stone circle appears aligned with the summer solstice sunrise. It's among the oldest claims like it anywhere in the world, though some of the more specific star alignments proposed at the site are still debated among archaeoastronomers. Or Newgrange in Ireland. A beam of sunlight pierces straight into the burial chamber, but only on the shortest day of the year. Or Chankillo in Peru. 13 towers there track the sun's rising and setting arcs across the horizon all year long. It's one of the more rigorously confirmed solar observatories in the ancient world. These weren't simply monuments, they were instruments. Tools that let entire communities predict the seasons, coordinate a harvest, gather for ceremony, not by guessing, by agreement built into the landscape. Time stopped being something one person tracked alone. It became collective. Then, cities appeared. And time changed again. Cities needed markets that opened and closed on schedule, governments that could plan ahead, taxes due on a fixed day, not sometime after the rains. Festivals lined up for thousands of people at once. Agriculture organized at a scale no single farmer's instinct could manage. A farmer could read the seasons for a single field. A city had to coordinate thousands of people at once. Nature alone wasn't precise enough for any of it, so humans built tools to replace it, calendars to fix the year into a repeatable structure, sundials to divide the day into pieces, water clocks to keep measuring even when the sun wasn't visible, mechanical clocks, which didn't depend on watching the sky at all. Time stopped being observed, it became standardized. But underneath all of it sits a deeper question. Every civilization faces the same basic challenge. How do you get thousands of people to act together, millions even, without constantly talking to each other? Money coordinates value, marriage coordinates family, nations coordinate loyalty, schools coordinate knowledge, timekeeping coordinates action. As civilizations grew, measuring time became more than curiosity. It became coordination. Markets, governments, agriculture, religious life, they all depended on people agreeing when things happened. Time wasn't just something humans measured. It became something civilizations shared. Because the moment thousands of strangers agree what today means, they can begin acting as one. So here's the strange thing. It isn't strange that humans invented clocks. Nearly every useful technology gets invented eventually. What's strange is what they were actually trying to solve. A clock doesn't create time. Time was always there, ticking along, whether anyone measured it or not. A clock creates agreement. Agreement about when to work, when to plant, when to trade, when to celebrate. Agreement precise enough that an entire civilization could move as one. Humanity's first timekeeper wasn't a machine, it was the sky. And every clock we've built since has tried to do the same thing. Turn the rhythms of nature into something every human could share. We didn't invent time. We invented a way to share it.